Sacco and Felice, New York and New Jersey's premier attorneys at law. Their team brings decades of experience across a wide range of practice areas. Whatever life brings, they're your legal team. From everyday matters to complex cases, they've got you covered with the experience you need and the results you want. Because when life gets complicated, they make it simple. SaccoFelice.com. SACCOFILLAS.com. 2 C's, 2 L's.
This is the Cats Roundtable with John Catsimatidis.
Everywhere around the world, they come to America. Every time that flag's unfurled, they come to America.
Good morning, America. This is the Cats Roundtable. John Catsimatidis here. We have a great show for you again today. Spokesman for the Department of State, Tommy Pigott, General Wesley Clark. He was the commander of all of NATO. He's got a few things to say. Dr. Peter Michalos, live long and prosper. Lynn Shaw, Nicole Parker. She has a few things to say about the FBI. Attorney General Ken Paxton, running for the United States Senate in Texas. Secretary Keith Sonderling, and Mike Beltram, and he is running for Congress in Tampa. Senator James Langford from the state of Oklahoma. And let's start off with Dr. Mehmet Oz. With us today is Dr. Mehmet Oz. Dr. Oz, where do you want to start today?
Well, let's start with the breaking news, because I was just in Ohio with the acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, FBI Director, and we had a big announcement about a fraud initiative. State Medicaid office there stopped 49 home health care providers from defrauding the public. We've created a war room that will allow an all-of-government approach. And what that means is we get to have the FBI and the Department of Justice and the Office of Inspector General and the Treasury all working with us at Medicare and Medicaid, so we can actually say, hey, listen, there's too much money going out to autism care here. It's 5 times more than it was 2 years ago. Something's wrong, and then they start looking after the bad guys, and we can then stop paying the money out, which is why we are so focused on this, because when the money leaves the building, it's going to international syndicated corrupt groups. It's going overseas to other countries. In Ohio, they have a large, second biggest Somalian population behind Minnesota. They have folks from Bhutan there who met these massive fraud schemes. They send the money back to Bhutan, and no one seems to be watching the till. And so, because the last administration basically advertised, go ahead and steal if you want, we're not coming after you, these guys did just that. They followed orders, and we're coming in there and saying, not only is there a new sheriff in town, we don't want you walking away, we want you running, because we're coming after you.
Dr. Oz, shouldn't maybe the president put somebody in between the normal course of business with the money going out to somebody that's a Doge-type person to say, I'm going to double check and make sure 5 minutes before anybody sends a check out?
So the way that Medicare works, which is for seniors, we have that. We've stopped $40 billion leaving the building last year. But Medicaid is run by the states. So here in New York State, which is a massive Medicaid budget, the largest Medicaid budget.
The new budget is $125 billion, I understand.
It's incomprehensibly large. And the bigger concern, of course, is that you're not necessarily getting good quality care for that invested money. It's being stolen, a lot of it. And so you got to figure out who the good players are, who the bad players. The states have seemingly taken their eye off the ball. They don't seem to care so much about that. They don't think they're getting graded on whether or not tax dollars are being used correctly. They're getting graded on making sure that there's plenty of services out there. What ends up happening is people who aren't really capable pretend that they're doing the right thing. And in many of these states, you've now taken things like personal care services, which is, doing things for your patients that your families would do for them normally. So carrying the groceries, driving them around, picking up stuff, errands. This is the kind of stuff we're now paying for. But if you're a perfectly healthy individual and you want to give your kid a job, this is a good way of doing it. We now have the number one job in the entire state is personal care services. In fact, it's twice more common than the next most common job. So it's a shocking reality. You got twice as many people in personal care service than fast food restaurants. And these numbers get bigger and bigger.
It's far beyond that. I understand Florida, with 24 million people, it's only 33 billion. Now, New York, with only 19.5 million people, is 125 billion. How can that be possible?
You have an unholy alliance between groups that should be competing over tax dollars. Instead, they say, you know what, let's get in the same team. Let's all work together. We're all going to go to Albany and get these guys, these suckers, to give us the money that we want. And then the people in Albany say, you know what, not just a bad problem because we're not paying for it a lot anyway. A lot of it's coming from Washington. So this is a great game. We're going to pretend like we care about people, pretend like we're paying this extra money in. We're going to collect the money from other states because it's coming from the federal tax till. And then you have other states who are beginning to learn from New York. They're starting to do this. We have kids with autism that are getting charged close to $1 million for autism care a year. I mean, I'm a heart transplant surgeon, as you know. I can do a heart transplant for a couple $100,000. I mean, you're talking about you got to spend that kind of money for every single kid with autism. Obviously, it's fraudulent. No one's watching because nobody wants to be called the bad guy. Everyone says, oh, you're cutting access to care. The truth is you're making care more available because your biggest allies are the legitimate providers. And if they don't run a real business and take care of people and get paid appropriately, they leave the business. So if you're a regular stand-up home health care person trying to do the right thing, and all these fraudsters are stealing people around you, they drive you out of business because you're trying to do your job. You're actually paying people to help. They're not. They're pretending to help. They're not even providing the service.
Dr. Mehmet Oz, thank you so much for coming on. We'll catch up with you again real soon. Thank you for everything you do.
Take care.
The Cats Roundtable.
With us today is Nicole Parker, a former FBI special agent. And Nicole Parker, you've written a new book. Let us know and tell us about your new book, too.
Well, first of all, what I can tell you is that under the Trump administration, we are moving in the right direction as far as law and order. And I wrote a book called The Two FBIs. And I talk about how there's FBI 1, which are the solid FBI agents who came into the agency to keep America safe, protect Americans, uphold the Constitution, and just, enforce laws. That's what we're hired to do. Whereas on the other hand, there was FBI 2. And those were individuals at the FBI who came in and abused their law enforcement power, and they pushed their political and social agendas into the realm of their work. They went after President Trump, after Trump supporters. The January 6th obsession was going after those that, committed minor misdemeanors. It became the FBI's number one focus and the Department of Justice number one focus.
Nicole
John,
Parker, are we ever going to find out the truth about January 6th?
Sure hope so. I think that there's one thing that I love about this administration is that they are digging into the facts, they are digging into the truth, and they are exposing fraud, misrepresentations that were made to us under the last administration. Not even just the last administration, because I can tell you that the problems with the FBI, based on my experience, really started under James Comey. He was the one that completely obliterated the trust within the organization of the FBI and outside the organization as well. And I would say July 5th of 2016, when he came forward and said that no reasonable prosecutor would charge Hillary Clinton, that was when I knew that he had politically weaponized the FBI. So I think as we're seeing, we've got a lot of good work going on. It takes time to get to the bottom of things. These problems did not start overnight. They've been going on for well over a decade. And so it takes time. We've got to be patient. But President Trump is committed to the truth. And he is very much committed to law and order. As an agent who worked violent crime, I have such deep respect for that. Our cities, we need to be safe. And I also want to share a personal note. My best friend in the FBI, Special Agent Laura Schwarzenberger, she was shot and killed in the line of duty on February 2nd of 2021, and she was executing a search warrant for a child predator. And that morning, there was no SWAT support from the FBI for Laura's operation. But in the same time frame, there were the FBI was liberally sending SWAT resources for January 6th misdemeanors and nonviolent offenders. But yet they did not send SWAT for the most dangerous criminal out there. And that was a political move, in my opinion. And I believe that my friend should still be alive. And if SWAT had been there that morning and they put that much dedication and devotion to going after child predators as they did the January 6th misdemeanors, I believe my best friend, Special Agent Laura Schwarzenberger, would still be alive. And that's something I talk about in the book, because she was a stellar FBI agent, and she deserves better than that. And I'll tell you right now, President Trump made a phone call to her family this year on the 5-year anniversary. He was not even the president when this happened, but he genuinely cares about our law enforcement heroes. And he called her husband and left a very beautiful voice message for her husband and her 2 sons, praising Laura and her heroism. And that is what I love about President Trump and what he is doing for our country, backing the blue, backing our federal agents that are doing the real work. And I do believe that they will get to the bottom of a lot of things that happened under the last administration and, frankly, the last 10 years. And I sure hope that there's accountability for those that ruined the FBI in the past.
Okay, tell us about your book. It's called The 2 FBIs. So if they go to Amazon, they could find the book and buy it.
Correct. You can purchase it from your favorite book retailer, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart. You can look it up on the Internet.
Nicole Parker, thank you so much for coming on, and let's catch up again real soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break.
Almonte's Key Food, proudly serving communities throughout Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island for over 30 years. When you shop Key Food, you'll always find fresh products, great weekly specials, and exceptional personalized service. Visit at any of their Key Food stores at 8235 153rd Avenue, Lindenwood, New York, 935 Rosedale Road, Valley Stream, New York, and 6620 Avenue U, Brooklyn, New York.
The Disney Plus Hulu HBO Max bundle. The best in entertainment in one bundle. This month, stream Disney and Pixar's blockbuster family favorite, Hoppers, on Disney Plus.
This is incredible!
FX's critically acclaimed The Bear, Season 5 on Hulu.
Everything's either going to be okay
or not.
And Season 3 of the HBO original series, House of the Dragon, on HBO Max.
You have power within your grasp.
Get the Disney Plus Hulu HBO Max bundle today. All of these and more streaming soon. Plan starting at $19.99 a month. Terms apply. Visit DisneyPlusHuluMaxBundle.com for details.
Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. Let's go to Oklahoma. And with us this morning is Senator James Lankford. Senator, I understand you worked till 5 o'clock Friday morning just to get some bills passed.
Thursday, the Senate started voting on the funding for ICE and CBP. Now, these are federal law enforcement folks that they spend literally their days protecting the United States. Democrats do not want to fund them, period. They look at every ICE agent, every CBP agent as Gestapo, as they call them. We worked through a process to try to get funding because Democrats have blocked funding for this. Got that finally finished, what's called a reconciliation process. It's a very narrow way to do the budgeting. It's hard to do on it, and you can't have any other topic other than those specific things you're working on. So Democrats are bringing up one amendment after another. Starting on Thursday morning, we went all day and then all night, finished up at 5 a.m. on Friday morning, where we finally got that passed so we can actually get full funding for ICE and CBP, which they've not had in a year and a half because Democrats have blocked everything. So we finally got that done.
I had Tom Homan on my show, and he went to Newark Airport, where they're having all those picketing. And from all the arrests they made, only one person was from New Jersey. The rest of them are out-of-towners. And these people are paid political actors that are coming in from all over the country to create a problem.
This is the focus of the hardcore left right now, is that when things are running smooth, they've got to find some way to be able to create an incident to make it look like things are not running smooth. So they've literally got protesters from all over the country coming in, convening on New Jersey, trying to create something where there's not something. As you've seen all the pictures on it. These are folks that are just screaming at law enforcement hour after hour after hour, trying to wear them down so they'll make a mistake. Then they can show a video of them on social media and say, look how terrible they are. I have to tell you, most people, if they've been screamed at hour after hour after hour, day after day after day, don't handle it well. The folks that are there in law enforcement, they're living up to their training and handling it really well.
These people are putting on a play for the benefit of the American people. They're paid protesters, and they're creating a scene. about protesting and with lies, and the major channels, ABC, CBS, and NBC, are carrying it like it's real.
It's not. It is like a what they call a deep fake video, except they're just acting it out to try to create this whole moment. And again, they've all got their cameras out. They're all trying to get one moment. That's what they're looking for, just one moment where somebody in law enforcement makes a mistake, and then they can say, this is what they're all like, and this is what they do all the time. When instead the camera should be turned around on them. The story should really be on these protesters coming in from Portland, Oregon, and from all over the country that are just anarchists. And their whole focus is completely different than the vast majority of the American people, but they're trying to be able to cram down their values on us.
You know, I've tried to make the differential between immigrants, like immigrants that came through Europe and Ellis Island, and those people. Immigrants came here to work 80 hours a week and make a better life for their families. Migrants came here to change our way of life.
Again, I have no problem with guests coming into our country, becoming American citizens, share our values, our work ethic. That is not an issue. Come from all over the world. We welcome people and have always welcomed people as Americans. In fact, 250 years ago, we lose track of this sometimes, John. 250 years ago, when we wrote a letter to good King George and said, goodbye, we're leaving you on July the 4th, 1776, in the Declaration of Independence, one of the things that we wrote into that, one of our complaints against the king, is that he was blocking immigration into our country. So we've been a nation that has invited people in since we weren't even a nation yet, even. So that's core of who we are. But it's different when somebody breaks into your house and steals your things, commits crime, and doesn't share your values. That's totally different than legal immigration coming into our country.
I just don't understand why some of these Democrats, they are representing the criminals more than they represent the American citizens. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
They celebrate the criminals. That's how you end up with folks like the good senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, heading all the way down to a prison in Central America so he can sit down and drink margaritas with someone who was illegally present in the country and was deported, so he can celebrate people that are not legally present in the country. I celebrate people that did it the right way. They celebrate people that did it the wrong way.
You're in Oklahoma. How is the drug traffic coming in from Mexico? Is it better?
It is getting significantly better with the block in immigration where we're not allowing people to illegally cross the southern border. And when I say southern border, I mean the border between Texas and Mexico. When that changed, the amount of drugs coming into Oklahoma significantly dropped. The other thing that people outside of our state would know is Oklahoma was overrun with Chinese criminal organizations in people that were Chinese nationals that illegally crossed the border, came into Oklahoma and set up illegal marijuana grows and then started distributing marijuana all over the country from these illegal grow operations. But they were partnered with Mexican cartels, Chinese criminal organizations, and they would work together to be able to distribute drugs all over. So that has dramatically stopped now, and that's a huge benefit for us. I mean, we're talking in rural Oklahoma, execution-style murders of Chinese nationals as these different criminal organizations went at each other, as well as trying to be able to sell drugs all over the state and the nation on it. That has come to a dramatic stop, and that is very helpful to our state.
Now, we have a November election coming up. Are we able to control, make sure legal people vote, that American citizens vote in federal elections only?
Yeah, that is a big issue. That's something we actually brought to the Senate and voted on twice again this week, trying to be able to push through the Save America Act. Just making sure that someone's an American citizen. It's already American law. You have to be an American citizen to vote in an American election. We're looking for verification, not just trust on it, and to be able to make sure they actually don't vote double times, don't do a mail-in ballot, then also show up in person. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. Just no fraud in an election. That's a simple thing. So we're continuing to be able to push this with the Save America Act, but also want to be able to make sure that they can do it. I mean, you got states like New Hampshire. It is already the law in New Hampshire that you have to verify your citizenship before you can vote. We just want to make sure that it is federal law as well, that you've got to verify your citizenship before you can vote.
Well, Senator, keep fighting in the Senate. Keep fighting for America because our kids and grandkids are depending on us.
They are our generation's responsibility to take care of the next.
Thank you so much.
The Cats Roundtable.
With us today is Attorney General Ken Paxton. That might be the new U.S. Senator in Texas. And you just won in the Texas primary. Ken Paxton, tell us all about it.
Well, you know what? I spent 14 months traveling the state of Texas. I think people were ready for a change. And I think people want results. They want the Save America Act passed. They want results on the budget. They want results. They want the Senate to get things done. And so, you know, I ran on that platform. And fortunately, the people of Texas overwhelmingly selected me, at least the Republican primary voters did.
And you won big. What was that, like 64, what?
36.
Tell us what you're going to tell, what you told people, what you stand for in Texas, because Texas is the go-to state. They're either going to Florida or they're going to Texas.
Well, that's not an unusual thing given the leadership of New York, both at the state level and the city level. We have refugees coming in from New York, Illinois, California, a lot of these Democratic states that have terrible policies, high taxes, less freedom, less opportunity, and Texas, Florida, and other Republican states are taking advantage of that. People are voting with their feet. So that's my message. Texas is a model for other states and really for the country. We balance our budget. We have a low tax structure. We don't. We do. If you want to come to our state and commit fraud, we will stop you from that. But otherwise, we want businesses to come. We want people to have opportunity. We want to create a good educational system, and we want less government, not more government.
Now, the other big things that happened last week, ExxonMobil, one of the largest companies in the world, is moving out of New Jersey, coming to Texas. So, Samsung, moving out of New Jersey, coming to Texas. Do you have room for everybody?
Look, we make room for people. We want companies to come here. We want them to bring their good-paying jobs and their opportunities for our people. And we're an open state. We want people to come here, but when they come here, we don't want them to vote the way they were voting in New Jersey or the way they were voting in California because those policies have failed. So don't come here and change the way we're doing things because the way we're doing things is the very reason you're moving here. Don't come here and vote the other way. And ruin this state, like states like New Jersey have already proven doesn't work. Socialism doesn't work.
What's the population now of Texas?
It's pretty close to 32 million. We haven't had a census for a while, but I think we're pretty close to 32 million people, which I think by population, if we were our own country, we'd be the 50th largest country in the world. By economic output, we're number 8 in the world. So if we were our separate country, we would be the 8th largest economy in the world.
If you would say what additional item you would do for all Texas, all people, what would be that item?
Well, look, I'm a big believer in the Save America Act, and the reason I say that first is if we cannot protect our elections, which we are not protecting them, we're like a third world country in how we protect our elections. But so many states, mostly Democratic states, do not require photo ID, which we require photo ID for everything. We allow non-citizens to vote. We have mail-in ballot fraud that's rampant across these states. Look what's going on in California. They can't even count their ballots. It's ridiculous. With the technology we have, we should have safe elections. You should only be able to vote if you are a resident of that state and you are a citizen of this country. And unfortunately, that's not the way our elections work in this country, but they need to be fixed because if we do not fix our elections, ultimately, we do not have a credible constitutional republic. And ultimately, we're going to end up with the Democrats controlling everything because they are willing to subvert that system for their benefit.
Ken Paxton, thank you. Congratulations on the big victory.
Hey, John, I appreciate you having me on and look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Calling in today is Tommy Pickett, and he's the spokesperson for the Department of State. Well, Tommy, you're a New Jersey guy originally, and
I am, yeah.
And now you got an important job at the Department of State. And tell us everything you do, and tell us what people should look out for.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a great honor to be there. I joined with this new administration in terms of working at the State Department, and really one of the great parts of working at the State Department is seeing all of the ways that we're helping the American people. I mean, one of the things that Secretary Rubio did when he started under President Trump was to kind of change how we view foreign policy in general, to say, does it make America safer, stronger, more prosperous? It was really, it sounds like a common sense approach that should have always been the case, but it actually is a whole ethos that has gone throughout the entire building. And that goes from everything to the services we provide Americans overseas, to our travel warnings to Americans across different areas, to the implementation of foreign policy and peace deals.
Are Americans traveling? I mean, with the wars going on in the Ukraine, and even Poland is keeping their eyes open. Russia, Ukraine, Iran, even Israel. Tell us about the travel in those countries. Any warnings out for Americans not to travel?
Well, we have actually a whole website, travel.state.gov, that actually gives warnings to Americans based off of where they're going. It's based off of 4 levels, all the way from exercise normal precautions to do not travel. But if you go to the website and you click on the country you want to go to, it actually gives you a very detailed rundown of what areas to avoid, what type of activities to avoid, why it's at that level. So certain countries are do not travel and explains why. Some countries have different levels of precautions. But Americans are still traveling, and we're actually about to welcome a lot of people to the United States, obviously, with the World Cup and other provisions. And we have the policies in place to make sure we're vetting those people that are coming here.
Now, are those people that are coming in, are they checked for diseases and things like that? Because with this Ebola going around in Africa, and are there any African soccer players coming? I mean, we have to watch out for that.
Well, we have Title 42 actually in place. So Title 42 in place says that if anyone's been to an affected area within 21 days of wanting to come to the United States, any foreigner, they are not allowed to come into the United States. So there is a team from the DRC where Ebola currently is that is set to play in the World Cup, but they've actually been in Europe for a while, so that wouldn't apply. They haven't been in the affected area. But we have that Title 42 provision. And then when it comes to visas in general for people coming, we have surged vetting resources. We're making sure if you're from an area with a terrorist threat, or if you have said things that threaten the United States, we're vetting all of that. We have a huge vetting team to make sure that we're each visa decision being a national security decision and protecting the American people.
What else would you like to tell the American people?
Well, I think one thing kind of mentioned when you talked about traveling, one thing that's really important to do is if you go to step.state.gov, you can register with the State Department to let them know if you're going to a certain country and when you're going. And there's been a couple instances during my time with the State Department where it's been really helpful to know, because if we need to help you, if we need to reach you with something, if we need to say, or if you need assistance, knowing that you're traveling lets us provide that assistance to you. Lets us reach out to you proactively. Lets us aid you as only the United States government can. And that's really the fundamental role of the State Department. One of the reasons it was founded was to help Americans abroad, to make sure that they're safe, that they're secure, that we can assist them. And that's what we're working on every day to do.
Tommy Pickett, spokesperson for the Department of State. We'll talk again to you real soon.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break. Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. If you ever miss a segment or want to hear it again, go to WABCRadio.com, go to podcasts, go to minicast, and play back your favorite segment. We're privileged this morning to have General Wesley Clark. He was the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. General Clark, what the heck is going on with NATO? We saved their behind so many times, and it doesn't seem like they appreciate the United States.
I think that's the opposite, John. They do appreciate the United States, and they think that we're part of NATO, and they're wondering where we are. When they hear that we're pulling troops out and so forth, they ask themselves, what could be more important than stabilizing Europe? Why wouldn't you want to deter Russia? Why would you want to pull troops out and redeploy and so forth and give Russia the feeling that, hey, maybe there's an opportunity to strike? So they're asking some serious questions, and we need some good answers.
And I understand that the President Trump is a little bit perturbed at, I guess, the German president or premier, and he moved some troops over to Poland because I hear that Russia was amassing their troops around the Polish border.
The fear is really for the Baltic states. So it's not just in Poland, but it's in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. And the fear is that the Russians seem to believe that if they say that Russian speakers in these countries, and there are some, are somehow being prejudiced against, then Russia has a right to intervene militarily and take over the country. And that's a pretext for war. We heard exactly the same kind of pretext before the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. It usually is accompanied by some legal action out of the Putin-controlled Duma to sort of put a veil of legality over what they're about to do. And so we've watched this situation over several years, and we've watched the Russians build up their forces there. And, you know, despite the poor results in Ukraine, how do we know that Putin's not thinking, hey, I can get a quick win against these nasty little people in the Baltics?
Well, he did say, Putin did say that I think I got a quick win. Why should we give Afghanistan to China and I get nothing?
Putin is a strategist. He's not a military guy per se, but he's an intelligence spook. And he's a very smart, conniving, capable guy with some great intel assets. So that's why he's focused on the Baltics right now. They were part of Russia during the Tsar's time. They always thirsted for independence. They had some brief independence during the 1930s, and then, of course, at the end of World War II, the Soviet Union reoccupied them. And so since 1991, they've had their independence. They don't want to lose it.
And give us what you think is going on in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz.
It's like two people in a vicious arm wrestling match. Iran's economy's hurting for sure, but they've reopened their missile cities. They can fire. If we do anything to Iran, they attack our friends in the Gulf. Our friends in the Gulf don't want the Iranians to have control of the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, we seem to be sort of halfway sneaking some boats through, but not enough. Meanwhile, the Iranians are trying to use the negotiations over the Strait of Hormuz to block the Israelis from going after Hezbollah in Lebanon. But at the same time, Hezbollah is not saying, well, if we stop fighting, we'll stop fighting. Hezbollah wants to continue to fight. It's all part of the Iranian strategy. So the president's got a tough role here because it's a tough battlefield, it's a tough negotiation, and then he's also trying to keep the economy from suffering too much. He's done a really good job on, I think, in keeping the stock market up and so forth. But is peace about to break out? Seems unlikely.
There are people out there that are suffering, whether it's Israel, whether it's Lebanon, whether it's Iran, or you tell us.
Well, I think, from my experience, I've done a lot of work in foreign policy, but what I learned from General Al Haig when he was NATO commander, and before that, and his work with Henry Kissinger, is that what happens outside our borders has a big impact on the American economy and the strength of the American dollar. And that's fundamentally, we've shaped the world since the 1940s by U.S. security, U.S. armed forces, and the credibility, the stability, the consistency of American foreign policy. And so I know the president wants to make a big transition here. He wants to pull us out of Europe. He wants to focus on the Western Hemisphere. He's trying to cut a deal with China. This is high risk for the American economy because there's nothing more difficult than that kind of a strategic realignment. People look at it, they say, what's going on with the dollar? Maybe we should switch to the Chinese. Maybe the Chinese are more reliable. Maybe we need to go to a gold-backed currency. A lot of these issues that look political and diplomatic come down to being financial and economic. We've been sustained by the flow of petrodollars from the Emirates, from the Saudis, For 50 years, Kuwait, they invest their money. They make a lot of money off oil sales. They invest it in the United States by and large. If anything were to happen to that, our economy would definitely feel the impact. So I think the American people have to understand that what happens overseas is of immediate consequence here at home.
General Wesley Clark, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and me and you will catch up again real soon.
Sounds great. Thank you, John.
The Cats Roundtable.
We have a special guest today, and his name is Keith Sondering, and he's the Acting Secretary of the United States Department of Labor. On Friday, you had a good jobs report. Tell us about the jobs report.
Yes, so Friday the jobs numbers came out, and experts predicted they would come around 85,000 jobs. Actually, 100% of these economists that were making these predictions thought 85,000. And President Trump blew out all expectations. They continued to doubt him, and the job numbers were 172,000. So that doubled the amount of new jobs that the expert had predicted. So we were really excited. It's the best jobs report in President Trump's second administration.
What did you do before becoming Acting Secretary of Labor?
And most importantly for your audience, I was born in New York City. My parents were born and raised in the Bronx, moved to Boca when I was 3 years old. And I was a labor and employment attorney in South Florida, in Boca. And then I moved to D.C. in 2017 to join the first Trump administration, and I've been up there ever since.
And what is your mission in the labor administration? If people said to you, "What is your mission? What do you want to accomplish?" So when your term is over, you say, "At least I accomplished this."
The most important mission that we can do at the Department of Labor is make sure that American workers have the skills to get all these new, high-skilled, high-paying jobs that the president is bringing to this country. So when I look back on the 4 years in the second Trump administration, the most important thing for me is that we have low unemployment and American workers are getting the first and best opportunities for these newly high-skilled trade jobs that the president created.
I guess you're in Washington all the time now, and you have to do a lot of traveling under your...
It's very important to get out and hear the stories of the American workers and the American job creators. You know, it's for us just to stay in D.C. and not talk to job creators, to not talk to workers. We can't make the best policies to help them. So it's great to be here in New York City. I also visited Long Island as well, and just hearing stories about how the president's policies are creating more jobs and bring home more pay for workers.
Well, you know, President Trump is saying that we're going to have trillions of dollars of new businesses come into America. And are we ready for it? Do we have enough labor to supply, to run all those factories and run all those new centers that are going to be opening up?
That's our top mission right now, to make sure that American workers have the skills for these new jobs that are coming. A lot of the new jobs require skills that the education system really hasn't been providing. So at the Department of Labor, we're really working with industry to see where these jobs are going, because we know they're making the investments. The president has been able to bring the jobs here, but it won't work unless the American workers have the skills necessary. So we're working with the Department of Education. We're working with middle schools, high schools, community college, trade schools to make sure that they're using the actual equipment that they'll be using, that they're actually getting an education that is industry-led, that's going to allow them to enter these high-paying new jobs the president has delivered on.
And what's your last your last sentence to the American people?
That the Department of Labor is here for you, and we will make sure that these opportunities go to you and nobody else.
Is there a website that they go to find out what's going on?
DOL.gov, or you can follow me on Twitter on Sonderling47.
Sondering, Sonderling.
47.
47.
Yes.
Keith Sondering, Acting Secretary of Labor, thank you so much for coming on, and God bless you and God bless America.
Thank you.
With us today is Mike Beltram, and he is running for Congress in Tampa, Florida. Tell all Americans, tell Floridians, tell people of Tampa what you stand for and why are you running for Congress?
Well, thanks for having me on the show. I stand for limited government, separation of powers, and individual liberty. I believe in the Constitution. I think we need to have a balanced budget. And I represented Southeast Hillsborough County for 6 years in the Florida House, and I voted against expansions of government, voted against bills that violated the Constitution, voted against some unfortunate expansions of government and expansions of entitlement programs here, notwithstanding that we're here in the free state of Florida. There were a few bad bills that came through, and I voted against those, and I would take the same approach in Washington, whether it's my party or another party that's expanding government or wasting taxpayer dollars or infringing the Constitution or individual liberty. I'm going to stand up for those values against a legislature or a government or even colleagues who may be trying to infringe those fundamental values.
I don't know who has that seat right now, but we're talking about making sure Florida, which is now the safety zone for all Americans, they're either going to Florida or they're going to Texas, that our kids and grandkids could walk around safely, and we just want a better way of life, good education for our kids and our grandkids.
Yes, and this particular House seat is the only Democrat-held House seat on Florida's Gulf Coast, and I think that's a travesty. I moved here 16 and a half years ago from New York, and I don't think it should be held by a Democrat. This district, as it's newly reconfigured, went for Trump by 10 points. So this is a seat that we absolutely need to flip this cycle in order to hold the House majority. And that's exactly what we're out doing, getting our signs up, meeting with constituents. We got a great poll earlier this week, and we're off to a really good start.
Anything else you want to tell people?
Well, if you want to find out more about the campaign, you can go to beltranforcongress.com. We're off to a great start. We got qualifying next week. I've mailed my papers up to Tallahassee, and I've registered with the FEC. So we're all set to go. And I just really appreciate everyone's support and following Mike on social media. I think we need to flip this seat. I mean, the route to maintaining the House majority runs through Florida District 14 and similar districts around the country. Hakeem Jeffries has declared maximum warfare on the state of Florida because we drew constitutional congressional maps. And I'm another Brooklyn boy, and I'm going to take the fight right back to Hakeem Jeffries and his henchwoman, Kathy Castor.
Well, thank you so much, and let's catch up again real soon. I look forward to the next time I'm in Florida that we get together for a cup of coffee.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break. Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. Live long and prosper. That is the sign of Dr. Peter Michalos, and he has a new book coming, and we're going to be talking more about it. Tell us what's up today.
Absolutely, John. Today we're going to talk about a very important topic, and that is Alzheimer's disease. And Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia. And unfortunately, 1 in 9 people over the age 65 get it in the United States. And it's a progressive, irreversible brain disorder that destroys memory, thinking, and the ability to carry out daily tasks. And some of the earliest signs are we start seeing memory loss, forgetting where your keys are, where you park your car, can't retrace your steps, getting trouble getting dressed, and when you walk, actually reduced arm swing, and even our posture. As we lose our posture, that's also one of the signs. So when our mothers told us to sit up straight, stand up straight, that was also very important. So we need to use it or lose it when it comes to Alzheimer's. That's why things like socialization, crossword puzzle, having good friends, participating in church, synagogue, mosque, those things all help to keep the brain stimulated. And there's different kinds of dementias. One of the types is called vascular dementia, which you can get from strokes, or if you have high blood pressure that's out of control for too long, your tiny blood vessels in your brain get smaller, and that also affects blood flow to the brain. There's another one called Lewy body dementia, which are proteins that accumulate in the brain. And also trauma, of course. The brain doesn't like to see air, so whenever there's any serious trauma to the brain, then you can also have problems. So the other thing that is fascinating is now the new relationship that they found with the gut microbiome and the gut-brain axis, the connection between the brain and the gut. And to start off, I'm going to mention some people call in Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because you get insulin resistant, which basically insulin resistance, you can't use the glucose in your brain cells. You starve the brain cells and you start forming inflammation and more plaques in the brain. And the gut-brain axis, they found that Ozzy the Iceman, this is just recent literature from last week, who's 5,300-year-old mummy, they found that he had a great gut diversity inside. They were able, those bacteria survived in the ice for 5,300 years. And they found that they had a lot of diversity. But in Alzheimer's patient, in modern times, and also in modern man, we don't have as much gut diversity because of our soil, our foods. And they found that the Alzheimer's patients had more of these bad bacteria called Escherichia, Shigella, and Bacteroides, and they had less of the good bacteria that make fatty acids that we need to function, and those are called Firmicutes and Eubacteria rectalis. So we had more of some of these bad bacteria and even more problems in the Alzheimer's patient, which is also, I think, fascinating. And it's associated with leaky gut. And when there are certain gut bacteria that actually produce amyloid-like proteins that may help form plaques in the brain. So this is new research that really our gut and what we eat plays a major role. That's why the diet, the exercise, we've talked about the Mediterranean diet, the olive oil, and how important they are. Now, what people say, what can I do to check to see if I have the risk? And yes, there is a gene called the ApoE4 gene, and you get one copy from your mother, one copy from your father, and there are different combinations. And if you have certain of the genes, like the ApoE2 gene, that's much rarer, and that says you're rarely going to get Alzheimer's, but it's also connected with cholesterol, so those people have a higher incidence of high cholesterol problems. Then the APO3, which is the most common combination, that variant says you have average risk for Alzheimer's. The ApoE4 shows that you have very high risk of Alzheimer's and high risk of cardiovascular disease. So having that blood test can actually give you an indicator. The other blood test...
So our medicine is moving at warp speed.
Yeah, absolutely, that we can detect these things, but basic things
But
like...
I saw something else the other day that, medicine moving at warp speed, they also had something for pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, no, absolutely, that there's a medicine that extended the life a few months of pancreatic cancer patients, and it was nice to see that because of President Trump's Operation Warp Speed, that people can apply and get access. So, for example, if something is in the middle of a clinical trial and it's helping somebody, you can actually apply to the company and say, based on Operation Right to Try, it's called, and he did that during Warp Speed, and you have the right to try it, and people are trying it, and they're getting extension of life. So it's giving hope to people, and it's also adding to the collection of data showing case reports, whether it's really helping and helping these things get more rapid approval. Now, as far as vitamins that can possibly help in the early stages, omega-3 fatty acids, which you get from fish like salmon and nice sardines that are from the sea. Smaller fish have less toxins and mercury. The B-complex vitamins are important to protect the brain. Vitamin E, it's been documented that people with low vitamin D levels have more dementia. There's a natural substance called curcumin that's been anti-inflammatory, and there's even a company out there that's working on this liposomal intravenous curcumin, and they claim that they're helping glioblastomas and brain tumors to slow them down, which is also fascinating. And the interesting thing is on MRI, or CAT scan, it doesn't show up early Alzheimer's. It only shows up in the late stages where you get brain shrinkage. So these are some of the things to know about that you can do to help protect yourself, and hopefully there'll be many new medicines now with all these great advances that are being coming out of the United States that will be able to hopefully treat this and slow it down and help the many people who suffer from this condition.
Dr. Peter Michalos, thank you so much for coming on. We'll catch up with you again real soon.
Thanks, John, for always getting the truth out and sharing great health information with all our listeners.
The Cats Roundtable.
With us today is Lynn Shaw. She runs lynswarriors.org. Well, Lynn, give all Americans an update.
Good morning, John. We're here today to discuss this major development in the fight to protect our kids and families online, right? We're always talking about digital safety, online AI. Well, this is great and impactful news coming out of Washington, D.C. Now, let me take you back a little bit. Last May 19th, 2025, the Warriors, we stood in the White House in the Rose Garden with the President and the First Lady. They signed together the bipartisan Take It Down Act into law, this landmark legislation designed to combat the spread of these non-consensual intimate images. And, John, with all this AI-generated deep fakes now and online sexual exploitation, this is groundbreaking. But the good news is the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, is officially beginning enforcement of this law, marking this is a major turning point
Now,
in
tell
online
all Americans,
accountability.
tell them exactly what the law is.
First of all, let me direct everybody to the website. The website is takeitdown.ftc.gov. What is this Take It Down Act that I'm talking about? Well, the law requires online platforms, not you if you see your image online, right? The platforms themselves, big tech, to remove non-consensual intimate images, right, including AI-generated deepfake sexual content. We have all of that going on right now, once properly reported. And that is why that website is so important, because they take the case over for you. The big tech, the platform, has 48 hours to remove that image, or else they are held responsible monetarily, different fines. The person who put the image up can face jail time. I mean, this is something that has not been done before. And those who are sharing this and distributing this abusive material have to know there's finally a piece of legislation. You could potentially go to jail. So while everybody's sharing these deep fakes now, or revenge porn we keep hearing about, or kids, we have 55% of kids. A new study came out the other day that say we are being saturated with these deep fakes.
So, Lynn Shaw, finally the Democrats and Republicans all agreed on protecting our kids?
I know, John, it's hard to believe, but they should be doing this from the beginning with everything. Everybody came together on this one. So we know it can be done, though, right? Because right now we also have the Kids Online Safety Act that we're trying to get over, this hurdle. We know they can work together. And, John, what better, topic with everything going on than kids and families? Everybody can get on board with protecting kids. And now with all the AI, we must put some laws. I mean, they're urgently needed into place. Look, we are pro-technology, pro-innovation. I think you are, we are, everybody pretty much is. But the truth is that technology is moving so much faster than law, than any of us. And you know what? We seem to...
Well, I see all the multi-billionaires and almost trillionaires are all this technology people. Don't they want to protect our kids?
Do you want an honest answer? No,
yes.
John. That is the honest answer. No, because there is no
So
regulation
give us one
right
example.
now.
Give us one example so they all know about it.
I want everybody to have this website handy, takeitdown.ftc.gov. And what it does, if your child or yourself even, there's a nude image or, again, something AI generated, we don't even know what's real anymore, John, pretty much, unless we vet things online. You can pursue action against these companies, the company itself, whether it's X, whether it's Meta, whether it's Google, because if they fail to comply with removing these images that are not yours, okay, this is about victim protection, then they take care of everything for you. Instead of usually big tech playbook is, it's on the parents, it's on people to take care of protection. Finally, we have something where big tech will be held accountable by the government. And what you have to do, though, is understand the steps, John. Screenshot the image, document like the date, report directly to this website, takeitdown.ftc.gov, file your complaint, contact also your local law enforcement. We always need a chain, a record of everything. and use organizations specializing in online.
Okay, so if it's bad stuff in front of your children, then we got to protect our kids. Go to that website. Tell us that website again, because we are out of
John,
time.
everybody needs to know it. takeitdown.ftc.gov, and it's especially for non-consensual images. And there's so much sexual content with our kids in it. And if you didn't put that picture up, they will be held. The platform will be held responsible.
Lynn Shaw, thank you for everything you do. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thanks, John. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
The Cats Roundtable.
If you ever miss a segment or want to hear it again, go to WABCRadio.com, go to podcasts, go to minicast, and play back your favorite segment. Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. Every Sunday morning, we'll bring you the latest in what's happening in our community, our country, and the world. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a nice Sunday.
Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball.
This week, come out to the ballpark as the Ferry Hawks welcome in the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars at Staten Island University Hospital Community Park for a homestand on June 10th. For a 5-game series as the Ferry Hawks welcome in the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars. Individual game tickets start at just $12.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.